Now being 3 o'clock, we can call the December 19th meeting of the Laconia Police Commission. To order, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recording Secretary is Executive Assistant Lori A. Marsh, and we'd let the minutes show that Commissioners Whittam, Carr, and Mello are present. I'd like to recognize the staff present: Chief Matthew J. Canfield, Captain Alan Gratton, Lieutenant Richard Simmons, Lieutenant Michael P. Finogle, Lieutenant Kevin Butler, and Prosecutor James A. Sawyer. Quorum has been established, so with 3 commissioners present, the meeting will move on. Personnel matters. Commendations and awards. Chief Canfield.
Nothing?
Training, Lieutenant Finogle.
We got one recruit that graduated the academy and is now in 12 weeks of field training. Hopefully, after that, he'll be out on the road by himself.
Orders and bulletins. Lieutenant Finogle, anything?
Nothing.
Miscellaneous, Laconia Links, Chief Canfield.
Nothing under Laconia Links.
Resignations and retirement, Chief Canfield.
Noah Ballou is no longer employed by the Laconia Police Department. He was a police trainee and is no longer employed with us.
Hirings, Lieutenant Finogle.
Right now, we have one in a background process. Should that pan out, we have a tentative hire date in March, which will line them up for our May Academy. And we're going to actively start recruiting again after the first of the year. We get a test at the Great Bay Community College again, and we'll pull from that pool of applicants.
Promotions, classification change, Chief Canfield.
Nothing?
Command staff reports, Captain Gratton.
Just been working on the budget for the 1920 year. Just about got all the numbers that we needed. We were waiting for a few numbers to come in. So should have that wrapped up by, it's gonna be turned in by the 28th.
Yes, is that when the presentation is on the 28th?
No, that's when it has to be over to the city manager.
The presentation's usually in like May, beginning of June
Okay.
timeframe.
Are you expecting any new initiatives that might be included this year, next budget year?
It'll be a pretty minimal increase. We've included a few little things, but nothing major, and we'll certainly give you a copy of that before it's submitted.
Remember, last meeting there was an issue that we didn't get a grant, so we weren't able to do something to the PD regarding making it a harder security place.
Yeah,
Is that something you can do in the budget or not?
That'd probably be more of a CIP request to the large, capital improvement request.
Okay.
That was for the fencing security.
Yep.
Thank you.
Operations, Lieutenant Simmons.
Schedule's looking better. We had officer added the end of November and another one the beginning of December. Trying to make a push to get some of those self-initiated activity numbers up, which I think adding a couple of bodies is making a difference, but they're also doing a good job out there working. You're not going to notice some of those in the numbers that you see this month because they're November numbers. For parking tickets, which is a big push to try and make sure the roads are clear for plowing operations. Last year there was 42 summonses issued or parking tickets issued for November. This year there's 82, and so far in December, even though it's only the 19th, there's already 76. So there's been a lot of effort out there on their part at night to try and keep the roads clear. And the car stops or motor vehicle enforcement, again, November, the numbers didn't really come up much, but they're already starting to come up pretty significantly in December. There's already 50 more car stops for December than there was for the whole month in November. Just adding a couple extra bodies and making that push to get out there and do what we can.
Questions?
Yeah, does the department, Lieutenant, get to keep the funds received from parking fines?
Market, Captain, you could probably answer that better than I
Goes
can.
directly to City Hall.
Everything goes to
They have to
City
pay
Hall.
their fine to City Hall, yep. Goes to the general fund.
But it doesn't, sorry,
Go ahead.
doesn't go into the police budget, then,
No.
does it? It's in general fund in the City Hall?
That's it.
Moving on, Support Division, Lieutenant Van Orgel.
Not a whole lot to report on, just focusing on recruitment for after the first of the year, setting up a timeline for getting people in the door. I think we have 2 vacancies at this time, so.
Investigations, Lieutenant Butler.
Not much. Sergeant Black's settling in well. He's realizing that there's a lot more going on than maybe he realized. But other than that, unless you have questions on the stats, I don't have anything.
Commissioner Tar, you look like you have a question.
Debate.
Oh, don't debate, just go ahead.
Okay, I will go ahead. Lieutenant, last month you weren't here, right? Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Sorry, yeah, no, I was not here.
So I asked a question, and Lieutenant Simmons helped me understand it a little bit more, but I wanted to ask you about the number of felony arrests
Yep.
that are showing up on here so far. And it seems like compared to last year, it's a pretty low number. So I was asking, Lieutenant Simmons volunteered the fact that a lot more people are getting indicted under the felony first rule,
Yes.
which
That-
maybe
there is
affects
times
that number.
very-
Is there any other issues with that? or-
No, that's pretty much, I mean, there's less detectives than there was last year, that's
Yeah.
one. But a lot more people are getting directly indicted as opposed to being arrested, so we do not keep that stat on there, so. And that's because of felony first. If somebody gets arrested, they get cash bailed or they refuse. There's very strict time parameters that all the paperwork has to be, it's difficult to do. We do it on occasion, but when we can not do it, it's easier if it's that kind of case to just directly indict.
Yeah, the other thing I noticed on here was this month at least, yeah, it looks like you had 730 hours of training.
A lot of that's Detective Haran and there's the 5 new recruits,
Oh, okay,
so just,
gotcha.
so I've done training.
Yeah.
We all chip in
Okay,
with the training.
thank you.
Legal, Prosecutor Sawyer.
We got the background done on the one volunteer that submitted about a month ago. So hopefully, once that's finally approved, we'll have her start training in January. Also received interest from another prospective volunteer who looks very capable. So assuming we get that application back, we'll get a background done and maybe have 2 new people helping out the
Okay, moving on to commission action regarding the November 21st minutes. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
Yeah, I'll move that we accept the minutes from the November meeting.
Second. On a motion, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 On a motion made by Commissioner Tarrant, seconded by Commissioner Mello, and passed unanimously, the minutes of the November 21st, 2018 meetings are accepted as distributed. Review of monthly activity reports, department monthly highlights, Chief Canfield.
For the month of November, we responded to 1,236 calls for service, investigated 202 criminal offenses, of which 161 were cleared by arrest, resulting in a total of 97 total physical custody arrests, 167 motor vehicle stops, of which 12 were summonses, 103 were warnings. There were no fatal accidents, 42 total accidents, of which 7 had injury. 82 parking tickets issued, 1 DWI arrest, and 18 people were taken into protective custody for intoxication. We responded to 25 domestic disturbance calls, 63 other disturbances, 8 suicidal subjects, investigated 6 violation restraining orders, and 1 barricaded subject. And LPD volunteers volunteered 16 hours of their own time, a lot of which was coaching. And the Victim Services Unit volunteers donated 16 hours of their time, serving a total of 4 victims.
All right, moving on to the monthly fleet report. Lieutenant Fenner.
The only thing I have is, 2 new cars. One should be done, hopefully before the end of the year, and then the second one's in the sign shop, getting ready to be, lettered, and then it'll go over to, equipment outfitting, and hopefully we'll have it before the end of January.
What's the time between the cars are received until they're actually out on the road?
Right now, it's actually being held up by the fact that OME took on a little bit bigger contract with some other agencies, so, you know, we're trying to get in amongst other people, other agencies, so it really depends on their timeline. You know, we get them, we letter them, we have to wait because they're painted, the fresh paint, we gotta wait to letter them, so there's some other things that cause a delay.
Investigative unit, Lieutenant Butler.
Unless you have questions.
Budget printouts, Captain.
Any questions on those?
I noticed the ET date was changed. That was good. All right, moving on to monthly traffic statistics. Chief Canfield.
So for the total, for the month of November, we investigated 42 different motor vehicle accidents, 7 of which involved injury. And I think that's it. I think I covered the rest of it.
Questions? Okay, correspondence to and from the department. Chief Canfield.
There was a very nice thank you letter that was sent from some residents who were thanking us for investigating the burglary of their house. Several officers were mentioned in it, and it was nice feedback in service to them and the investigation of that crime.
You never mentioned the chocolate chip cookies, fuck, that were left for all 3 shifts. Nice.
Dangerous, I think, but
It is. Rough crowd that
they're
lives out
rough.
there.
And the performance report cards.
We received 2 report cards this last month, both of which were A. So they were nice. We don't seem to get a whole lot of these back, but it was nice to see 2 of them come back with high remarks. So.
The Citizens Police Academy.
So as you know, the Citizen Police Academy wrapped up last month. In the packet are the critiques and evaluations of the academy, and they all speak very highly of it. I think one of the biggest complaints is just not enough time. It wasn't long enough. But I think it really changed their insight into the police department, seeing the stuff that we do, meeting the different officers and detectives that came in and taught. And they came away with a whole different understanding of what the job of law enforcement encompasses. So overall, very, very good positive feedback and very nice to see.
Any thought about moving this from 10 weeks to maybe 12 or 15 weeks, is that?
We can, it's just a stretch on getting people to teach and stuff, but we can certainly look at that.
Well,
Chief,
the
I know-
comments,
I'm sorry.
comments were all terrific, all positive.
I noticed
Real
there were a
good.
couple of commenters that remarked about they referred to a piece of equipment called the simulator was broken. Were they talking about the simunitions?
It's a simulator that we bought on a grant, I don't know, gosh, 7 years ago. So it's a little bit antiquated at this point, but it's on the 3rd floor. It's computer-driven that is able to, it's a use of force simulator, so it can put officers into different use of force scenarios, decision-making options. But as part of that, there are firearms that are used that interact with the, it's basically a video screen that, and these lasers are in the guns themselves, and they interact with the training simulator. The lasers are a little bit outdated, so they weren't registering properly. So that's why it was down. We've since looked at purchasing several replacement lasers for it with the guns.
Yeah, there's actually a company that we recently spoke to that can provide a laser package that's comparable, well, it's better than the one that we got however many years ago. that'll work with the equipment we have, so as soon as we get a quote from them, then we'll see how.
So the intention is to get it back up online
Yes,
at some point?
yep.
Did the other people that didn't get to ride along, have they gone yet, or are they just waiting?
Not all of them have gone. I think one went since the academy, and I think there's a couple other ones that were still, that was just them, when they could go. So, at the same time that this was going on, the Lakes Region Leadership classes were going on, so all of them ride also, so it was hard to get people out there during that time, but they'll all get the opportunity to go.
Okay, moving on to old business. Chief, anything?
Just the overdose statistics, if I could catch up on those real quick. So far, year-to-date, we've responded to 100 overdoses, which is down from last year, which was a total of 146 for the year. Currently, we've had 11 overdose deaths, as compared to 9 last year.
Now, this is just ours, or is this combined with fire department and whoever?
These are our statistics.
Just, these are ours?
So their statistics would probably not reflect entirely, because they don't respond to all the calls that we do, but it would consist of the same numbers.
So there could be, well, the deaths you would know, total amount of deaths, but as far as overdoses, you wouldn't,
We respond to every single overdose.
oh, you do? So
do.
this would be included with the fire department?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
good.
Any just general comments, Chief, about the trend, and I know it's hard to put any specific reason for where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an issue that is not going away. We've experienced 11 overdose deaths year-to-date, which is the highest we've seen as of yet. However, that being said, I think the outlook on this issue is going to change a little bit under the governor's proposal, which has been approved. At the beginning of the year, there were 6 different hubs that were created throughout the state. The hospital here is considered one of the hubs for the county. So they're going to bring a whole host of services, including, on-the-spot treatment. So people will be able to call 211, or we'll be able to refer people to 211, and they'll be able to get hooked up with services instantly. That's been a large part of this problem, and a large part of what Eric Adams has been doing is connecting people to those services, which services has been lacking in the state, but particularly in this area. And that hub is pretty exciting news, and I think it has the potential to have a pretty big impact on this problem, at least from the recovery aspect of it.
When is that supposed to come online?
Sometime the beginning of the year. I know I have a meeting scheduled at some point coming up here in January. They haven't announced the date, but they're looking to get that going right at the beginning of the year.
Is there coordination amongst the other treatment agencies, Chief? Because there seems to be quite a few agencies that are providing substance abuse treatment in the city. And now this new designation of Laconia as a hub, and more resources coming to LRGH to administer. Is everybody working together? Are they still doing their own thing?
Yeah, it's my understanding that this is supposed to bring all those services together and on the same page.
Yeah.
It'll be using some of those, probably all those resources as part of this effort. But yes, everybody's on board with that, and Eric Adams has been entrenched on those boards as well.
I think that they do communicate well. I mean, I'm sure it can always be improved, but, the big providers are Horizons, Navigating Recovery, the sober houses, they all know each other and utilize their resources, as well as Genesis, or Lakes Region Mental Health, rather. So there is communication, but it can always improve.
Is there competition, Jim, amongst the providers to get clients into the program, or is it?
I would say no.
Yeah.
If there's overlap, it's not a lot of overlap in terms of what to provide. I'm not sure what Lakes Region Mental Health has to offer that may overlap or not overlap with Horizons. That's the only one. But Navigating Recovery, basically grassroots program on Main Street is not in competition with Horizons at all. They do different parts, and they
Yeah.
work very well together. There's a synergistic effect with those two programs for sure.
Now, is that recovery court?
No, the Recovery Court's another one that's
How is that doing?
that's doing very well.
You haven't had any setbacks in there?
Well, some people don't make it, you know, some
Yeah.
people will be terminated from the program, but there's many success stories, and
There's more successful than there is unsuccessful, I hope.
I would think so, yes. I haven't looked at the numbers, but it's, from my perspective, my opinion, it is the thing that works. I mean, you have high-end people that people in this room would know who they are, who you never thought could succeed, and they've overcome it and are productive members of society. One of, actually, Jackie Abakoff, the director of Horizons, just at the last Recovery Court hearing, was referring to one of the recent graduates, and she said she can't wait till he's off probation, because after you graduate Recovery Court, you're still on probation for a period of time. And she says she can't wait to have him off probation so he can start working for her as a recovery coach, because he can't do that while he's on probation.
No.
And that individual, everybody in this room, all the officers know who he is. And from a young man, even as a juvenile, there's been issues with him, and he's now, his full-time job, has been sober for over a year. And it's an amazing turnaround that he's made.
Good.
Wasn't a key part of Eric's job to kind of coordinate and utilize the services
Yeah,
of the
they all
agency?
work together, and Recovery Court will ask him, like, for instance, there was an individual that was not maintaining, I forget if it was a male or female, themselves in the community, and the person was at the jail and was due to be released to go into a residential treatment program. The person didn't have the support to get a ride to that program. So Jackie reached out to Eric through me, and we arranged that he was able to bring that person to a residential treatment facility. So I know that's just one. He has contacts with all of the different providers in the area.
So can we come back to the overdose numbers just for a minute? Is it fair to say, too, Chief, that, I know you guys respond to every overdose call, we have good numbers on that, but this goes to the, at least my view, that Narcan is available to anybody that wants it. And it's, families have it. First of all, if you can enlighten me about, is it free? Can anybody go and get it? Or you have to pay for it? Or,
You can purchase Narcan at pharmacies. It's also given away, or it has been given away at different events for free. It is readily accessible, and we do see a number of people that have it and possess it. Is that a contributory factor to these numbers being down? Quite possibly.
Yeah.
I know we've seen, more than a handful of overdoses that we've responded to, and they've already been given Narcan by friends or family members, and they don't want assistance, they don't want medical help, they don't want anything. So is that a partial reason those numbers down? Maybe.
yeah. But some of these incidents of overdosing don't necessarily involve a call to 911 or to the PD. Is that, because they manage it themselves, I guess,
Yeah.
on site?
Yeah, and what those numbers are, I truly don't
Yeah,
know.
It'd be hard to know.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly wouldn't have any idea, but I'm sure it happens.
Yeah, same, they just drive themselves or their loved one to the hospital, to the emergency room, without having involved the fire department or the police department. I'm sure that happens on occasion.
That's
as
true.
well.
Yeah. I know we did a search warrant probably a year and a half ago, and we recovered a significant amount of heroin, and I think we got some fentanyl too, but there were like several dozen Narcan kits
I
that they
saw
were
that
giving
in your
away at the
comment
same
about
time,
that.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, where was that? Was that in Massachusetts, or was that here where the dealer was giving them, sell them the narcotics, and then they would give them the Narcan kit to go
That was
with it?
happening here,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know I read it somewhere.
New business. Chief, anything?
Nothing?
Confirmation of the next meeting date, January 16th, 2019. Any conflicts? Other business, chief?
Nothing?
Citizen comments?
My name's Dennis Lentz, resident of Laconia. Came across a story about the Salem Police Department had been audited, demonstrated a pattern of mismanaging internal investigations and ignored and discouraged citizens' complaints. It's known that I've filed two here. Matter of fact, Lieutenant Van Ogle is a recipient of the one of 2016, which actually predicted that if certain things didn't change as far as policy of the police department, that the crime rate was going to rise. It also inadvertently predicted some of the other deaths, that drug-related deaths that occurred in the community. So to get this kind of forward more, come April 1st, I wish to file another grievance, but I wish to find out what is the actual procedure for this department, since both of mine have failed and has cost several lives.
Chief, you respond to that?
Dennis, we can talk offline, but it starts with a complaint to the watch supervisor at the police station.
This is what was done twice. Lieutenant Van Ogle received mine. This is part of the thing that I'm understanding, is that the police seem to interpret what I'm saying and write complaints, but yet the things that I say are not in the complaint, and this is where the problem lies, and things continue to happen. These are the things that needs to be cleared up. How do you file a complaint? If my statement is not good enough, why does someone else need to interpret what I have to say?
Dennis, like I said, you can come down to the police department, talk to a supervisor, you can file a complaint, you can give them a written statement, write down what your complaint is in your writing, okay?
The last time I ever filed a complaint was 2010, and no one ever acted upon that. And even in that complaint, several deaths occurred. That's why I'm not really too familiar and just to come down and speak to someone, because it has not worked. And this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to bring forward.
Okay, I think your 2 minutes is up, but I think the chief's comment about going into the PD and sitting and having a face-to-face, I think we'll address that.
Thank you.
Is there a need for non-public, chief?
There is.
Under RSA 91A3, 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such an employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting, and 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Do I have a motion to go into non-public?
I move that we enter non-public session.
Second.
On a motion made by Commissioner Tarr and seconded by Commissioner Mello, we're all in agreement?
Yes, we are. Aye.
Passed unanimously in accordance with RSA 91A32. The Laconia Police Commission entered into non-public session at 3:28 p.m.